Hello there. Have you ever wondered what an engine has inside? Or maybe you want to know which car parts are considered as the engine components. If you have any idea about engines, you must be familiar with the basic major parts of it. However, in this video we're going to explain all the mechanical parts of the engine and let you know which parts should be replaced when you're redoing an engine overhaul. So without further ado, let's get started with the first part, that is the engine block. The engine block is the most important component of an engine since all other parts are installed on it. Most passenger cars have a V6 engine block, but some models also come with a V8. Depending on the type of engine, the number of cylinders will vary. For example, a V6 engine has 6 cylinders while a V8 has 8. Each cylinder contains a piston which moves up and down when the engine runs. The next major part of the engine is the radiator. It works together with the cooling fan to keep the engine at the right temperature. When the engine gets to hot, the liquid inside the radiator boils and turns into steam, which then passes through the cooling fan and condenses back into a liquid. This process is called evaporation. The radiator fluid used in modern vehicles contains chemicals that prevent the liquid from freezing in cold weather. It is important to check the level of the radiator fluid regularly because if it gets too low, the engine can overheat and break down. Another essential component of the engine is the air filter and air intake. The air filter cleans the air before it enters the engine. The air intake is a large pipe that carries air from the air filter to the engine. The air intake also helps to increase the power of the engine by forcing more air into each cylinder. Without an air intake, the engine would not be able to produce enough power to run properly. Now let's move on to the battery. The battery provides power to start the engine. Once the engine is running, the alternator takes over and provides power to the battery. A car battery typically lasts between 3 and 5 years. When a battery starts to wear out, it can cause problems such as a slow engine crank or even complete engine failure. Therefore, it is important to test the battery regularly and replace it when necessary. The next part we're going to discuss is the alternator. The alternator is a device that converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. In a car, the alternator is driven by a belt that is connected to the engine. As the engine runs, the alternator rotates and generates electricity. The electricity is then used to power the car's electrical system, including the lights, radio, and other accessories. In addition, the alternator also keeps the battery charged. Without an alternator, the car would quickly run out of electrical power and be unable to operate properly. The starter motor is another important component of the engine. The starter motor is responsible for starting the engine when the car is turned on. When you turn the key in the ignition, the starter motor engages the engine's flywheel and begins to rotate it. This rotation eventually reaches a speed at which the engine can sustain itself and the starter motor disengages. Without a starter motor, the car would not be able to start and would need to be pushed or towed to a repair shop. The transmission is the component that allows the engine to deliver power to the wheels. In an automatic transmission, the engine drives a torque converter which is connected to a series of gears. The gears are then used to provide the appropriate amount of power to the wheels. In a manual transmission, the engine drives a clutch which is connected to a gearbox. The gearbox contains several gears that can be manually selected to provide the desired amount of power to the wheels. Both automatic and manual transmissions are complex systems that require regular maintenance to ensure smooth and reliable operation. Next, we have the drive shaft. The drive shaft is a long, rotating shaft that transmits power from the transmission to the differential. In rear-wheel drive vehicles, the drive shaft is connected to the rear differential, while in front-wheel drive vehicles, it is connected to the front differential. The drive shaft is typically supported by bearings that allow it to rotate smoothly and efficiently. It is important to note that some vehicles, such as those with front-wheel drive, may not have a drive shaft. Moving on, let's talk about the differential. A differential is a gear-based component that distributes power from the drive shaft to the wheels on an axle. There are two main types of differentials, a limited slip differential and a locking differential. A limited slip differential, also known as an open differential, is the most common type and is found in most vehicles. It allows the wheels on the same axle to rotate at different speeds, making it easier to navigate corners and tight spaces. A locking differential, on the other hand, is less common and is typically found in off-road vehicles. It forces the wheels on the same axle to rotate at the same speed, providing maximum traction when driving on rough terrain. Differentials are essential components of a Vehicle-S drivetrain and play a crucial role in ensuring optimal performance and handling. The transfer case is another important part of the engine, especially in four-wheel drive vehicles. The transfer case is a component that transfers power from the transmission to the front and rear axles. It typically consists of two input shafts, one from the transmission and one from the front axle, and two output shafts, one for the front axle and one for the rear axle. The transfer case also includes a set of gears that allow the driver to select the appropriate gear ratio for different driving conditions. When driving on paved roads, the driver may select a lower gear ratio to provide more torque to the wheels, which improves traction. However, when driving off-road, the driver may select a higher gear ratio to reduce the torque and prevent the wheels from spinning. Additionally, some transfer cases include a low-range feature that provides even more torque for extreme off-road conditions. Overall, the transfer case is an essential component of a four-wheel drive Vehicle-S drivetrain and plays a vital role in providing optimal performance and handling in various driving conditions. Suspension is a crucial part of any vehicle that helps to absorb shocks and bumps in the road and provides a smooth and comfortable ride for passengers. The front suspension typically consists of several components, including the upper and lower control arms, springs, shock absorbers, and a stabilizer bar. The rear suspension can vary depending on the vehicle, but often includes similar components such as control arms, springs, shock absorbers, and a rear stabilizer bar. The suspension system is responsible for maintaining the vehicle's stability and balance, particularly during cornering and braking. It also helps to keep the vehicle's tires in contact with the road surface, improving traction and handling. Shock absorbers are also an important part of the suspension system. They are essentially dampers that help to reduce the impact of shocks and bumps on the Vehicle-S body and passengers. By slowing down the movement of the suspension, shock absorbers help to maintain control and stability, particularly during aggressive driving or in emergency maneuvers. Now let's move on to the brake system. The brake system is another critical component of any vehicle. When you press the brake pedal, brake fluid is released from a master cylinder and flows into the brake calipers. Inside each caliper are pistons that push brake pads against the rotors, causing them to slow down or stop. The brake system is designed to provide a safe and effective way to slow down or stop a vehicle, helping drivers avoid accidents and maintain control on the road. Now let's talk about the fuel tank. The fuel tank is where gasoline or diesel fuel is stored in a vehicle. The fuel tank is typically located under the Vehicle-S chassis and is made of a durable material such as steel or aluminum to withstand corrosion and pressure. A fuel pump is responsible for delivering fuel from the tank to the engine. The fuel pump is driven by the engine and uses a series of valves and pipes to direct the flow of fuel. When the engine is running, fuel is injected into each cylinder where it is mixed with air and ignited to produce power. Without a proper functioning fuel tank and delivery system, the engine would not be able to operate. Another important component of the engine is the exhaust system. The exhaust system is responsible for removing harmful gases from the engine and releasing them into the atmosphere. The system consists of a series of pipes and chambers that carry away exhaust gases from the engine. One crucial component of the exhaust system is the muffler, which reduces the noise produced by the engine. The catalytic converter is another essential part of the exhaust system that converts harmful pollutants into less harmful substances. Finally, we have the turbocharger or intercooler. Some diesel engines use a turbocharger to increase power output. A turbocharger is a device that uses exhaust gases to drive a turbine, which in turn powers a compressor. The compressor then forces more air into each cylinder, resulting in increased power. Some diesel engines also use an intercooler, which is a device that cools the compressed air before it enters the cylinders. By cooling the air, the intercooler increases the density of the air, which results in more power. And that's it. These were the major components of the engine. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next one.